and welcome to another episode of Capsule RX Podcast. Today I'll be your host, Dr. Jovin. I'm here with my former co-resident. I say former because I'm done with residency, but he's still in it. He's mad at me right now. Dr. Sam Ngata, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing great. We're super excited to have you on here. You have a very unique and interesting background, and you're the last of the PGY2s. So we saved the best for last when it comes to you. We've had Alex and Bailey come on and kind of share some different paths to their story and imposter syndrome with Alex. But with Sam for one comes from a different country. So that's something that's very interesting. And then also he has a military background. So we wanted to kind of touch upon that today. And Sam, can you kind of just give a brief introduction to our audience?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me here. It's really good to be here with both of you and to be part of your team.
Yeah, we're lucky to have you.
Talking to you guys. And just a little bit about me. My name is Samuel Ngata. I have an N on there. Everybody says Ngata. The N is silent. So I was born in Kenya. That's where I grew up most of my life. I went to school there most of my life, all the way through high school. And then after that, I was home for a little bit before I migrated into the United States. So that's a little bit of my background there. And then from the United States, things changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved into Georgia, Atlanta. And so my dad was living at that time. And it was a really big surprise for me, coming from Africa, different types of settings. So for me, it was a big surprise and, trying to figure out things around here.
Yeah.
That was good. And then, after that, staying there, I, kind of worked, trying to get myself adjusted. And then just during that time that the military came through me. I had an interest in the military growing up, but it wasn't that strong until I came here. And then that's when the topic was introduced by my mom.
By your mom. So how were you always interested in it?
For me, it was more of I thought of it as something that's just noble to do, right? I thought it would make me grow in a different way. I will tell you, in my country, joining the military is difficult for sure. It's a whole different process. But coming here, I knew there was an opportunity for sure to do that. Also, I thought it was a different way for me to learn the environment and to give back, because definitely coming here to me, I saw it as an opportunity to grow. So when that conversation came, it wasn't an easy decision for sure. Mm-hmm. I had to think a lot, had people that
It's a big commitment.
It is a big commitment.
Yeah.
You just can't just make that decision easily, and most people struggle with that. I was younger then, I was maybe 21. I knew what I wanted, but I just wasn't sure about the military yet. But it took me a little bit of time to think about it, and I made that decision.
Okay, perfect. So you kind of thought through the probably pros and cons. You came to this decision. Now, how do you go from the military to pharmacy?
That's a whole different story, right? So coming in here, I knew I wanted to go to school when I came to the United States. My interest at that time was either to go to medical school or be a dentist, but that was what I was thinking about. So when I joined the military, it was expressed to me that there is also an opportunity for me to go to school. And what they did, actually, they're paying that for you. So that was a very good thing for me, because after that, I realized that going to college here is expensive, right?
Very expensive.
Yeah, and I didn't know how to borrow money. I think I just had, I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
So when that opportunity came, I said, okay, I think this is about time that I can go ahead and, get some education. Well, I'm in the military, which was one of the best decisions that I made. So I would work, and then in the evening, I'll just attend classes and then come back. Just balancing it all wasn't too hard for me to do that. And at that time, I was pretty much focusing on maybe doing, some sort of school to go into medical school. But as I continued on, I knew I had other interests. So I also loved the pharmacy world. I thought that was really good, unique in its way. And I knew there's a way I could contribute into that as well. And that's how my interest started. So I just started taking classes slowly. When I was in the military and all that, and then I did my 4 years in active duty. Mm-hmm. And it was around that time that they were downsizing at that time. I remember back in 2014 or something like that, and I saw an opportunity that maybe I can come out and go and be a reserve. So pretty much part-time military.
Okay.
So that I could focus more on school, so have that balance, because I had already got to the tough classes, and I knew I needed time to do that, and I needed more, trying to focus on these things and take.
So you're in like the core classes, you finish the prereqs and all that type.
Most of them.
Okay.
So I came out, and once I separated, I went into reserves.
Mm-hmm.
And it was from there that my journey to pharmacy pretty much started. I enrolled in a community college back in North Carolina. That's where I moved. My brother was living there. I had to live rent free. Come on, I mean, nobody wants to.
Yeah, man.
It's an opportunity for
It's
me.
expensive.
Yeah. So I made sure I joined a community college over there.
Okay.
I never stopped, so I went to school all through. Never had a summer break. After that, I took all the classes that I needed. And just as a backup, I decided to go to University of North Carolina, back down in Wilmington, because I was like, I'm gonna get my biochem degree just in case things don't go the way I wanted it to go.
Okay.
And I tailored my pretty much my classes towards pharmacy and also ophthalmology. So those are the two things I was actually thinking I'm gonna go into.
Okay.
And then finally, I applied to both places. I did actually apply to ophthalmology school and pharmacy school as well, and then pharmacy took me first. So.
Where'd you go to pharmacy school?
So for me, pharmacy school, I went to East Tennessee State University.
Okay.
Out there, it's beautiful. For those that have never been to Tennessee, especially the
Right.
Appalachia areas, it's very, really, really beautiful. Good place to go to school. I had a small class, East Tennessee State University, really a great school. Small classes, I think our class had we got 68 students maybe, so we knew each other. Very small classes, very personable. So that's where I did my pharmacy school. A good time, and I hiked a lot out there as well.
And was it a 4-year program or 3?
Yes, it's a 4-year program
Okay.
out there, so it was 4 years of pharmacy school, and that's where my exposure to pharmacy started. I'm gonna tell you, when I went to class, honestly, I didn't know so many drugs. All I knew was maybe 3 drugs. I knew Tylenol,
Yeah.
Piriton. I don't know if they have Piriton in America. We used to take that back at home,
Okay.
and just antacids. That's all I knew. So for me, it was a big adjustment. Not even considering also I was almost adjusting too from my military mindset as well. So it was a little bit difficult and different for me as well going through it.
That's interesting you say that, because now that I think about it, I don't think I knew that many drugs either, just in general, before going to pharmacy school. I knew a lot more about pathophysiology of things. I always thought pathophysiology was like one of my favorite classes in undergrad. So I don't know if I really knew too many drugs besides some over-the-counters like you named, so something you might use. So that's interesting. I wonder how many pharmacists actually knew a lot of drugs before going into pharmacy school. Because if you don't know the prescriptions, you're not taking them. Why would you know them? You know, but yeah, that's kind of, I never thought of that. That's cool. But okay, so you went through that whole transition, coming from Kenya to Atlanta, Georgia, to then join the military. I'm sure you traveled a lot. You did a lot in there, and thank you for your service, by the way.
Thank you.
Doing that, and then you were at community college, and then you went to UNC Wilmington, and then from there you went to East Tennessee State, and that's where you got your PharmD degree from.
Correct.
So going through your rotations, after you finished school, you decided to do a PGY1. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. So why did you decide to do a PGY1? And not only that, you came all the way down to Florida. So why did you pick Florida?
Oh, okay. So for me, when I came into pharmacy school, my first year, I kind of, more of an introduction in classes and everything, but I found an interest in oncology. So there was one of my professors that was doing great research out there, and I said, can I just come and just look and see what you do, and then we'll go from there. And I fell in love with oncology. So I did my research for 3 years over there. Pretty much we're looking at plant-based treatments in onc, trying to figure out how they can treat pancreatic cancer. So that's what we were working on. At that time, I was like, I like that. I love the involvement. I love this stuff. More, I know it was research, but at the same time, that learning and a whole lot of how we can use different therapies was good for me. And then if you think about Tennessee and the community out there, they when it comes to health disparities, that's where you see it a lot. A lot of people have diabetes. Smoking is a big issue there. Substance abuse is a big issue, and my school was really focused on community, giving back to the community, because ETSU, or Bill Gatton College of Pharmacy, was built of the people of East the Appalachia area. So we always wanted to give back to the community.
Okay.
And for me, getting involved out there into different organizations and going out there to serve patients and talking to them, that is what I felt like passionate about. And I knew this is, if anything, I could get that going through residency.
Yeah.
I think with residency for me, I thought it would open up more of the opportunities. That doesn't necessarily mean that community pharmacists can do that, but it just, for me, community pharmacy was not what I thought my calling was. It's great what they do. It's a tough job.
Yeah.
But I knew definitely residency would be the one that would be opening me up for different types of experiences. And I think when I hit maybe my second year, maybe halfway through, I knew exactly residency is where I want to go. I had passion for oncology. That was pretty much maybe one of my first choices, and also ambulatory care as well, because of the how we can do managing patients' chronic conditions. Pretty interesting to me at that time.
Okay. And then picking, do you mind if we say where you did your PGY1?
No, it's okay.
So you did it at AdventHealth Orlando, is where you did your PGY1. So being there, you were definitely exposed to a lot of different things because it's such a large hospital. So being there, I'm sure you learned a lot of different things, and I'm positive you got some oncology and also some AmCare experience. So what kind of transitioned you to do a PGY2 in ambulatory care here at Celebration?
Yeah, and I think I missed out. Why did I choose Florida? I take risks. I'm a risk taker.
You heard it here first, America. If you want to succeed in life, you got to take risks.
Yes, I'm a risk taker. And I'm gonna tell you, my thought about Florida was the guy that would say, if I'm coming to Florida, I'm coming to visit. I don't want to be a Florida man.
Yeah. You don't want to be a Floridian.
No, I'm just gonna come visit and leave. But you know, here I am. That's how I ended up here. But the reason why actually I was attracted to here is because of AdventHealth. When I was looking into pharmacy schools, I saw AdventHealth Orlando, and what they had is it's a big hospital. For those that have never been there, quite a lot of experiences over there as well, and it's a large group of residents, which is really good as well if you need that support and rapport with people. That was really good for me. And when I went to interview there, I fell in love completely with the place, and I knew this is where I can be challenged to grow. It was a different time during the time we were doing, looking for residencies. Because COVID, that's when it started hitting hard, and being at AdventHealth Orlando was actually a place to be at that moment. I mean, it was not a happy place, but quite a lot going on at that time. But that's how I ended up transitioning from inpatient mindset to doing a PGY2. That's a whole different story. I mean, it comes with, I'm gonna tell you, everything comes with failure and also looking at things differently. So I did apply to, when I did my interviews at that time looking for PGY2s, I looked into oncology as well, inpatient, and also looked into the ambulatory care as well, because I wanted to make sure that I have passion for both. I was at that time, I was thinking maybe oncology more, and then AmCare is more of like, if it doesn't happen, then I can go into this side of AmCare, because I also, when I was a PGY1, I had a rotation with a heart failure clinic, and they did more of the AmCare side of it. So I loved it a lot. So it didn't happen to me when I applied for PGY2 going into onc. So I never matched in phase 1. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on here. It never broke my heart as such, because I knew I already had got the training that I needed to be successful. But I also was willing to, if at all something comes up, and I had mentors over there, and that time my RPD suggested maybe I should look into AmCare, and they knew like Celebration needed residents as well at that time. I interviewed here in the beginning, also East as well.
Okay.
But in phase 2, I knew they needed a resident, and I pretty much meeting again with the RPD here, and we talked about what it has to offer here, and I thought this is the place I want to be. So just moving from Orlando, coming here to me was pretty easy, but actually transitioning from an inpatient mindset to
it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Like even for me, being more of an ambulatory care focused residency with the PGY1 program here, and then having to staff on the weekends and do inpatient, working clinically on the weekends as well, or doing inpatient rotations, it's a completely different mind shift that you have to do. And that's something you really got to prepare yourself sometimes, because you got to realize like, oh, these things that were so important, that mattered so much on the outpatient setting, are so irrelevant on the inpatient setting. And you got to remember that and realize like, hey, it's almost like two sides of a coin. two sides of a coin, two sides of a coin, and you got to make sure to be able to flip to either side when at any moment's needed if you're going to be working on both sides of the spectrum.
Correct. Tough time, I think. Coming here, my first, I think I'm a cool residency as well. Definitely PGY2s over here with like in a test. It was a very difficult time for me to be able to adjust to understand how things flow. And just how documentation is and how, where everything is. But I mean, it happens. You just I put my focus. I definitely pulled some late nights here.
I think we all have.
Yeah, but it all worked out. It all worked out for me, and also I had opportunities to go ahead and go upstairs and do some inpatient work, and I thought that really balanced out for me. Ended up to be actually worked out for me. Just a little bit of time, and I was there.
Okay, perfect. So overall, because your background is so interesting, do you feel like that military background had any impact on your pharmacy career, whether it's in the PGY1 or in the PGY2 or even going now into actually just practicing, no longer being a resident? Do you feel that military background had a impact, whether positive or negative, on kind of the way your career has steered?
I would say military is a lifestyle, is a whole different thing, but I was in the Air Force, and some of the core principles they stood for, what they wanted you as an airman to do as their core, or what they believed in was, first you have to have service before self. Integrity is very important, as well as excellence in all that you do. That's all the things that I remember a lot going through my military times. And what I remember also being told all the time is accountability. Accountability is something that you have to have. Discipline is what you need to have at all times. And sometimes you might fall short on a few things, but you have to have that as well. So what did the military bring me? What did I bring from the military coming through pharmacy school and also through my residency? I think it's the resilience and to be able to work with a team, constantly. I was lucky enough to be able to promote. When I was in the military, I left as a staff sergeant, so I had been in leadership positions and in places where I had to make tough decisions, leading people. I've been a follower as well, so those are the things to just match together, and coming in, I think the resilience that I got from the military, more of a disciplined mindset, mission focused. You have to do what you need to do regardless of what you have around you. I think that was really good for me. And also just interaction with different people. You have to think about the military as a bonding point of everybody, right? You have different people from different backgrounds. So for me, that really served me well, because I understood, sometimes I'll definitely understand maybe my co-resident's viewpoint, or also my patient's viewpoint, or whoever might be my preceptor as well, viewpoint, or a patient's viewpoint. It's just different ways in how you relate with people. But I'll say the military for me has been very positive. Definitely, like I always say, I'll always go back. If anything, I love it. I love everything that it provided for me, as well as what it made me be. Definitely, I have to put some work to get there. But it's manageable. Pretty great experience. And just having that going through PGY1 or even pharmacy school is a different type of stress.
I'm sure.
It's never the same. I felt intimidated in the beginning going through it, but at the same time, I stood by what I believed in and what I thought was right. I definitely, for those that know me, I definitely say what has to be said. Definitely respectfully, but I am not afraid to bring it up if it needs to be brought up. Sometimes I think that's good to do, and you just bear the consequences. And I think the military, what it did to me is also to be able to accept when actually you fell short. You have to. And that's
so holding yourself accountable.
Completely.
Okay.
If it's your fault, it's your fault. You take it, and then you have to kind of recalibrate again and then come back and do it again. So those are the things that I hold dearly up to now. I think has made me successful to where I've been, and I was continuously learning to make things better for me and also the people that I work with as well.
Okay. And I can definitely see that, like, working along with you, I see you have a specific aura about you. When you speak, people listen, and it's like a voice that has, I don't want to age you, but a voice that has been through experiences. It's like you could tell that he's coming from a place of respect. It's like you respect everybody when you're talking to them, and people. I don't. Alex hates when I do this, but Alex is in the background. I know he probably agrees. But this is something that like I've noticed. I'm more than positive. Students have noticed this. Patients have noticed this. That there's just a confidence and aura around you, and a respect and leadership qualities within you that I think maybe the military helped bring out of you, and then you just have it on full display now. It's like you've like tamed a life. It's like you've mastered being a man or something like that. And it's like you show that in pharmacy, and I think that's a beautiful thing how you're able to do that, and also how it relates to coworker interaction, right? Because there's so many diverse not only patients but also coworkers that you have, especially in this setting, and in your case where you were in that inpatient setting where there's probably a lot more pharmacists you worked with, going to a whole bunch of different rotations, a lot of different pharmacists, preceptors, a lot of different. You had a different RPD there. Then you're coming here. You have a new RPD. You have new pharmacists that you're working with, new preceptors, PGY1s, PGY2 students. A lot of different moving parts. But to have like a calm aura and a calm presence helps to hold things down, steady ship, and kind of like really hone in on what's important. When you speak, it's not about nonsense. It's about important things we need to change, things that can help improve workflow, could better our patients, like you said, be of service to our patients, and just try to make our clinics like more excellent, right? So that's something awesome that I kind of noticed about you, and I definitely wanted to ask you this later on, but I feel like you kind of touched on it. What are like some of the 3 to 5 takeaway points? I feel like you kind of touched on them, but what are some takeaway points from the military that really, really impacted you in pharmacy, and or that you wish more pharmacists had to help improve their experience as a pharmacist, or their workflow, or their interaction with their coworkers or patients? It could be characteristics, it could be traits, just different things.
Yeah, I think the first thing first is work with what you got. Making sure that when you are provided with opportunities, whatever resource that you have with you, that you're working with that, making the full use of it as well. That'll be really good to do. And well, in the military, you'll be put somewhere, and you've got to work with what you have to work with. Something else that has to be there is more of a communication. Communicating is very important. Holding people accountable is always very important, as well as holding yourself accountable. To understand that if you're in a position as being a pharmacist, you are a leader, whether you like it or not. Definitely people are looking up to you, and there's a specific standard that you have to constantly hold yourself to, which of course I do. Something else that I think maybe that anybody, even pharmacists, students, anybody going through just a rotation or could be a pharmacy experience, is to be able to be open-minded. Listen first, and as much as you can, suppress your emotions as well. We all come from different backgrounds, and sometimes we tend to listen with our emotions. We impact whoever we're working with, or even our patients as well. The goal is to try to minimize that and listen to them first before you say anything. It's a struggle. I still work with it. It's something you have to constantly be able to do. And I think what you get out of it is more of a easy communication pathway you can have with your patients, with whoever you have around you. It doesn't necessarily mean you'll never have conflicts. Conflicts will come. Just be able to be, objective about whatever you're trying to do, and if there's anything that needs to be addressed, then it has to be addressed. You say it face to face to whoever you need to tell. Make it private as well, and just try to make it a positive impact on the person. Sometimes people don't take things, especially if it's criticism, well, and it's normal. We're human beings. We expect it to feel that way, but it's good to understand that being patient and taking kind of those characteristics can really be helpful in just helping you grow.
Definitely. And I think one of the key things you touched upon, which I believe a lot of pharmacists, probably employers in general, I should say, are looking for in an employee, whether you're a potential residency candidate, applying for a pharmacist job, is being open-minded.
Correct.
Being open-minded to different possibilities, not being locked into groupthink, not trying to force only one narrative. Try to think of all the different possibilities and different solutions that could resolve a situation, right? Another thing that I think is important that you also mentioned is really try to think logically before you speak. Be a bit patient. It's not, there's going to be times, and trust me, if you work in AmCare, you're going to have some patients that annoy you and piss you off. But you're not going to react that way, right? You're going to hold it within, you're going to be patient, and you're going to respond in a logical manner, in a well thought out manner. And that's something too that we always got to remember whenever we're dealing with patients, with colleagues, that there's going to be times where you may not be in the best mood. You could have just woke up on the wrong side of the day. We're people, we do have emotions. And it's perfectly understandable if you're having a bad day, but it's not understandable to just lash out somebody because you're having a bad day. So being able to manage your emotions and definitely respond logically. Think before you speak. Old saying. Just take the time to think before you speak and kind of be patient. Let certain situations kind of play themselves out and kind of observe sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't hurt to sit back and watch and observe the situation and have it unfold for you instead of forcing the narrative. So yeah, I can definitely see how all those things could be beneficial to anyone listening to help improve either their workflow, improve their interaction with their colleagues, or with their patients as well. So thank you, Sam.
And just something to add on to that, I think I had mentioned that when we came here into a residencies. If you ever want to grow, first of all, put yourself in a position where you are the most uncomfortable that you've ever been. That's the only way you can grow. And always express to your colleagues your weakness. Why is that? It's because they can help you grow with that. If you're working with someone, definitely, if you're an area you're struggling with, why put too much effort and time while someone else can be able to project something out of you that you did not realize that you had. So recognizing that is very important, and just making sure that you're sharing that with whoever you're working with. And the goal, of course, is to make each other better. That's what I could definitely say as well can be very good as you go through residency as well.
Yeah, self-evaluations. That's why I always tell people there's a reason why companies always do this. It's not for fun. Like they have been shown to improve workflow or improve personal development, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a reason why they ask you to do a self-eval. There's a reason why people ask you to evaluate them so they can know how to improve and how to be better. And since you kind of mentioned this, I want to put you on the spot, Sam. What would you say is one of your weaknesses? And if you don't have a weakness for yourself, what would you say is one of my weaknesses? We can put me on the spot.
No, I'm okay to say one of my weaknesses. I was growing through that. I think, like I said, sometimes some things I don't like sometimes, and I'm a pretty vocal person. I will express it. But I think sometimes patience, like you said, patience helps. And I think going through PGY2 is something that I've been able to grow. I think for me, sometimes I can be reactive, and maybe when I'm not pleased with something, almost shut down a little bit, not really completely, but it can cross my mind. So what I do to deal with that is to be able to get out of the environment for a little bit. That's why you see me taking walks. I take my walks outside. I'll take a walk around the office and pop my head and see how everybody's doing. And the reason for that is to get me out of the situation where I have that feeling. And then it kind of makes me look at it in a different dimension as well. So
decompress a little bit before you react.
Yeah,
and that's what we kind of talk about, like think before you speak. Like maybe you have to do an action to help you get to a calmer state of mind, because the response you want to give is not the one you actually want to give. The response you're thinking of at that time is not the response you want to give. So you might need to go for a walk, might need to take 5, water break, maybe go have a snack. Maybe you need a Snickers, you never know. Do different things like that to kind of help you recenter yourself to be able to respond appropriately to the situation that's at hand. So I can definitely see that. Now you got me thinking about a weakness, but I don't know. I feel like I got a lot. I don't know. Alex, you got anything? You got any weaknesses for me?
For you?
Yeah, for me. I was thinking about saying maybe doing too much at one time.
I'd say, I don't know if your mic can pick up this far, but
I can repeat it if they can't hear you.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a lot of goals that you have. You have a really long laundry list. Yeah. I think your weakness is kind of trying to prioritize some of those goals, because you want to accomplish so much, but you do have limited amount of time.
Yeah.
So Yeah, that's my thoughts.
No, I appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so anybody that's listening, if you can't think of a weakness of yourself, ask one of your coworkers, your colleagues. Sam is always about influencing people and wanting the best out of people and expecting you to expect the best for yourself or want the best for yourself. So that's why I wanted to also share something related towards me. So if you didn't hear, Alex mentioned that basically I have a lot of different goals that I want to accomplish, a lot of different things. So my biggest weakness is prioritizing on which ones to focus on first. You know, that can be a good thing. There's a lot of things I want to work on, but I can't do everything. I have a limited amount of time, so I have to be able to prioritize my time, so time management, but I also have to prioritize which tasks are the most important tasks for me to tackle first. So that's something that I'll definitely take into account and evaluate and see how I can improve upon that. Because at the end of the day, when it's your colleagues, your friends, preceptors, etc., you know, they're really trying to help you be the best version of yourself. And you may not always see the flaws that you have, but other people can identify them and not only identify them, but sometimes give you recommendations to help improve yourself, so you don't stay in that situation. But thank you, Alex. I appreciate that. We're not going to get into Alex's weaknesses. We'll say that for another podcast.
So perfect.
Yeah, you're perfect. But yeah, okay. So thank you, Sam, for sharing that. And then I only had a couple more questions for you. So one, for anyone that's listening, that's considering maybe joining the military services or the armed services, as either a pharmacist or joining before and going into pharmacy school afterwards, what advice would you give them for that process?
First, to find yourself. If you want to do it, go for it. I encourage people to do that because it opens different types of doors, different types of opportunities. You get to travel a lot. So it can give you that, and I understand it's not for everybody, but if you need some structure, you need to figure yourself out, especially if you're younger and you just don't know what to do, go ahead and give some service back to the country. It's something to be proud of. Very, very good to do. To me, I love it. I loved it, and I don't think I'll have done it any other way differently. And also, if you're considering maybe to get the benefits that come with it, coming through the military, you got your GI Bill that will be able to support you through school, which is important.
School's expensive.
It's always expensive going through school. I'm lucky enough to be able to utilize my GI Bill and educational benefits to take me all through pharmacy school, which is great. So definitely it's something if you're considering to do, then go ahead and do it. Follow your own heart. Everybody has a different perception of what they think about the armed service or the uniformed services, and it's fine. At the end of the day, it's you and what you want to do. I think it gives you a different perspective and also allows you an opportunity to serve. If you're planning to do that, maybe going through the military to figure yourself out, and maybe college is not for you or whatever, and that's okay. Go figure that out. But for those that think like, I want to go in and I want to be a pharmacist, there's different avenues to do so. It could be long, but I can just summarize here quickly. If you want to go in, you can go either as an enlisted person if you didn't go through college, and then from there you can take classes, or try to go officer route, where you can just apply to go to be an officer, and then you can go through school and you go back and give your time for them, because of course they took you through school. Another way to do it is to do your 4 years, 6 years, whatever years you want to do, get out, get your GI Bill, and you're good to go. For those that are already in pharmacy school or college, medical school, whatever it is that you're listening, you can also, these jobs that the military do actually offer tuition assistance, or they can pay for your college. Well, you do that, and then when you're done, you just have to go back, give them the service, and then you're done. But at the end of it all, you're the one benefiting. You're getting your school paid for, you're going back to serve, which is great. And then after that, it's your choice if you want to continue on to serve into the military, or if you've had enough and you want some different type of experiences as well. You can get out, and it gives you also an opportunity to work closely, either if you want to be the government institution, the VA system, if you want to work just anything that involves the government. It becomes a little bit easier for you to penetrate into those areas because you've had that service, as long as you serve honorably, of course.
Yeah.
With the honorable discharge, not just
Yeah.
getting out.
Don't game the system. Don't play the system.
No.
What I was gonna ask you was, do you have a preference on like which process is better? I don't understand like the whole GI Bill thing, but you were saying either like enlist first or go through like the schooling first and then do the services. Do you kind of have one that you prefer? Not saying it's the best for everybody, but is there a certain route that you prefer?
Actually, no. Again, it depends on the person, right? And what their goal is. Everybody grows different, and everybody has different ways of thinking. But you have to consider joining the military. There's a cut line for your time, so you can wait till you're 40 to consider doing these things. They need you a little younger to do so. So if so, for me, I think different people, different scenarios. So, for example, if you're 18. You think about going medical school, or you're trying to do something about your life and you just don't know which route, then there's no need for you. Okay, fine, you can be out there and be a productive member of the society, but you just haven't figured it out. Then it's an opportunity for you to go straight and join the military and go get the training that you need, understand how you're supposed to live in the military, because it's a whole different lifestyle. And after that, you can come out after you've given your time and service, and definitely some benefits. And also for you just grow differently. For other people, they go through college, and after that they think, I don't know, I have so much debt, I want something different. Then you can go ahead and join the military that way as well, and give them the service, and they can help you out as well. You just have to make sure you talk with the recruiter and see what they have to offer. And for those that love college and they want to go straight into college, and they're like, oh, I don't want to take these loans and whatever, then there's another route too. You can also go join the military in that route as well to help you out, and then just give them the service back. You have to think about, if you planning to join the military, I think the benefits are great, but you have to understand that it's a service, right? That you're doing for the nation. You have to go with that mentality and the mindset that you're going to do that, and believe that, and they will train you to be that person. Do that the best as you can, because you'll be held accountable at all times. People are relying on you. Definitely defending the nation here is great. So go with that mindset, and then after that, see where it takes you. Definitely, you just never know where you might end up. So I'll encourage anybody that feels that they want to do something different, unique for themselves to grow, but at the same time serve the nation, go for it.
Gotcha. And how long did you serve?
I served for a total of 6 years.
6 years, okay.
Yes.
All right, that's a long time, but I like it. Thank you. No, that's a long time, and that's impressive too. Doing that, and then once you're done with that, deciding to go back to school, because I'm sure you had a lot of different. Well, you were going through school, but to go to pharmacy school and decide to finish that route, like that's impressive. It's a lot of commitments you've been making doing that, and then residency, so a lot of commitments. So much respect to you for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then for my last question was, you traveled around, you've been not only in different cities, but in different countries. You've seen different health disparities that you kind of mentioned in Tennessee. Now you've been in Orlando and here at Celebration as well. Where do you think pharmacy is kind of heading? Based off all your experiences, clinical wise, outpatient wise, even through just traveling, like where do you kind of see the future of pharmacy going?
Yeah, so as far as disparities on healthcare, it depends where you're going, right? I grew up in Africa, in Kenya, so I saw a fair share of that.
Yeah, that's true too, yeah.
And you come to the United States, you can put the same thing on the map, right? Some areas are better than the others, and it is what it is. But you only think about pharmacy and how far we've come in just the pharmacy profession since it's been going. Before is a guy behind the counter, go ahead, make some drugs for me, and here you go, right? But now we are actually integrated into the whole multidisciplinary team, and I think there's still more we can do. But just to say, since COVID, maybe it was a blessing, maybe not. Of course, the life that we lost, but that's where I think I've seen a lot of changes when it comes to pharmacists and what they can do. Our scope really expanded. And I've seen that a lot. So right now you can see different pharmacists embedded into different practices because they see the value of what a pharmacist can bring. I believe that the training that we get as pharmacists, we are the drug experts. And that's what we do. We go to school and that's all we learn about. And understanding that part, working in a multidisciplinary team, we have a role that we can play. So a doctor cannot, we see that all the time, a doctor cannot, they diagnose great, but we also can offer our expertise to be able to make sure that these patients have the optimized medication therapy that they need so that they can get back to their best performance or best health.
Mm-hmm.
Pharmacists play a great role. We work here with different groups of people. We have APRNs, we have doctors as well, also case managers as well. When you think about population health, the expansion of just using pharmacists into these roles to manage chronic diseases as well as acute diseases for those pharmacists working in the inpatient side does bring a lot of benefits, because at the end of the day, I think is the results that we were looking for. So better patient outcomes,
Yeah.
very important, and at the same time be able to kind of specialize into different services work that everybody that can do. So if I were a doctor, I would like to have a pharmacist on my side, because I don't have to focus too much on the drugs here, and if I do have a question, I can reach out to that pharmacist and they can take care of that for me while I deal with the patient, how I need to diagnose them and what we need to do. So all that as a team brings best outcomes for the patients, and as well as if you think about reimbursement, then you get more of it as well.
Okay. So definitely, you believe pharmacy will probably have more and more, more and more practices will start to have pharmacists embedded in their clinics to help kind of relieve, it seems like, that pressure on the doctors, and also really maximize the pharmacist's role in that multidisciplinary team.
Correct. And I think we hear that a lot. And definitely Alex can attest to this, and because we do see a lot of patients, and some patients say, it's amazing because I've never talked to a pharmacist. I never knew a pharmacist can tell me these things. Yeah. Oh man, it's good that I know why I'm taking these medications. Yep. I think I need to actually make these changes. So when you talk to them and just explain to them different things and why we're using them, and then if there's anything as part of their medication therapy is concerned where you can optimize, maybe get some of the things off to make them get to their goal, then I think is amazing. And it's good when you hear this feedback from patients. That's what I like to hear. Definitely, I think of them as my family.
Yeah. And it's also shocking that you just made me remember a patient, I want to say it's like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think she's been like a type 2 diabetic for like 2 or 3 years, but that wasn't the reason why she was in the hospital. But we were just going over her meds, and I forgot, she was on an SGLT2 inhibitor, but it wasn't Jardiance or Farxiga. I forgot which one she was on. I think it was Invokana. And we actually, like, I was talking to her about our meds, and she was like, I've never had somebody actually sit down and go med by med, like, with me. Like, I really appreciate this. I've been on meds for like 20, 30 years, and nobody's ever done this. And it's like, are you serious? Like, that was just shocking to me. Like, you've never had this experience before in your life.
Right.
And that's important, because I was trying to explain to her, like, hey, like, Jardiance would actually be better for her, because she also had heart failure. And just based off the studies and whatnot, and she was just like, I don't know, I've heard bad things. I'm like, bad things compared to Invokana? So then we had to have a conversation about that, and she didn't realize that they were in the same class, same family, or anything like that. And she was like, honestly, I don't really know why I'm on Invokana, besides it's for diabetes. Like, so that's just like certain things that kind of show like the lapse of information that sometimes these patients have. Now we can play a big role going in there to really educate and counsel patients on their medications, and provide good resources for physicians to help optimize patient therapy, like you kind of mentioned earlier.
I agree. You do a better job than Google. Just saying.
Yes. Hey, can we clip this and post this? Pharmacist does a better job than Google. So if you need help, patients, please stop going to Google. Don't Google things. Come to your local pharmacist. Come to Sam. All right, he does consult services. I don't know how much it costs, but he does consult services for everybody. $100 an hour? I don't know. But,
we'll think about it.
Exactly. But that was it for my questions, Sam. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No, we're glad to have you on Capsule RX. It was bound to happen.
Oh man, you got me so nervous.
No.
Sweating now. I'm just
No. We have fun. So now I'm gonna put myself on the hot seat and ask you if you have any questions for me today.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, first of all, this is great that you do this, right? I think I was talking to Alex, and I was asking Alex, how does Jovin even do this? It's tough going through residency, and I think you've had this podcast since you've been a pharmacy student. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I have to commend you on doing this. It's very, very hard to be able to balance this, edit it. I don't know how you were able to do that, and that's a strength that you have. Yeah. But how do you do it? How did you find time to do this?
I didn't sleep, so I don't recommend people do that. I didn't sleep, and when I talk to other people too that do similar things like this, they don't sleep either. Right. So that seems to be the common thing. We sacrifice something. You don't have enough time in your day for everything, whether it's fun, family time, something has to give, right? I forgot who I listened to, but I believe it was a podcast or maybe a YouTube vid that I watched somebody, and he was mentioning if you're gonna work out, if you're gonna go to work, if you're gonna study for school, you don't have time to also party, spend time with your friends, spend time with your family, and also do side hobbies. And sleep. Like something's got to give. You only have time for like 5 things, so you need to pick your 5 things. So one of the ones I unfortunately did is cut out sleep, which I do not recommend. I'm not promoting that, but I'm trying to get better at that. And then I would say the second thing is you got to have people that are almost as passionate as you or motivate you to work even harder. So recruiting people like Alex and Bailey, having people like Alvin, Rachel, Brandon, Jeff, Sean, etc., etc. We just added Carmen, and also Kareem. Like having team members that really motivate me and push me, and when I see them working and doing awesome stuff, I'm like, oh, I can't go to bed yet. They just did. Like it's like a competitive thing. I don't know. I always think of Kobe. And it's like, nah, I can't let this person outwork me. So it's like, all right. So since you're working on the podcast, I'm gonna go do something on the podcast too because I can't let you outwork me. So having people that motivate me and push me, and try to stay as consistent as possible because the motivation will fade. Trust me. If you're gonna use motivation as your tool to get things done, things that aren't gonna get done all the time. So it's like just being consistent. That's the biggest thing. I was actually just having a conversation with someone regarding something else, a different side project, because y'all know I got side projects. Different side project. And I was like, I have to be consistent with this. This is the most important thing. Across the board, whatever side project I do, I want people to know it's consistent. So I told Alex, like, I gotta be better. I gotta make sure we're dropping every Monday. Like, it needs to be consistent. Consistency needs to be my number one theme. And so I have that in mind. I'm telling myself to always be consistent. So that just pushes me to make sure I deliver. So being honest to myself, giving my word to my coworkers. I don't want to call them coworkers because they're not getting paid, but but my friends that like to collaborate with me. Everybody's part of the podcast team. You know, giving them my word that they can rely and trust on me. So I got to make sure I deliver. So that's a big thing. And then, like I said, I don't sleep. 1, that's the number one thing. Number 2, surrounding yourself with people that motivate you and inspire you to be better. And then 3, just having that intrinsic goal to want to be consistent or have an intrinsic goal of, I always say you want to be detached from the outcome. So it's not like I have a finalized product where I want this many Instagram followers. I want this many people to listen to a podcast episode. I want to make this much money off of merch. No. All I know is that I want it to be great and I want us to enjoy the process and I want it to be fun. So I try to detach myself from the outcome. I don't know, Alex is the numbers guy, so he's the one that can't be detached from the outcome. Because you need to have somebody that's about numbers. You can't just have nobody about numbers to get things done. Yeah. So it's like, you got to have somebody that does, but you also have somebody that's just more of a visionary. That's just wanting to do things and expand and to make things creative and fun. So that's how I did that during residency. I really need to sleep though.
Oh, you know,
I miss sleep.
Take a break.
I
Get
miss
some
sleep.
Yeah,
I miss sleep. I'm not gonna lie.
You know, this is pretty good that you're doing this, and you know, I commend you on that to be able to balance everything. It's tough business getting into this, but still, they need to subscribe, please.
Yeah,
and I think
thank you, Sam. Hey, free marketing too. Free marketing always helps. Yeah, subscribe. If you haven't hit that like button, is that what they say on YouTube? I don't have a YouTube channel. If you haven't hit that like button, hit the like button right now. You see it right there. It's at the bottom left corner. No, we're not on YouTube, but we are on Instagram. So at CapsuleRx, definitely go ahead and check us out. At CapsuleRx Podcast, definitely follow us. Like our content. Go ahead and we're also on Facebook, so you can follow our page. Reach out to us on LinkedIn if you ever need anything. Man, we're just trying to be the best that we can be. If you guys have any feedback, any weaknesses that you guys feel I have, Alex has, Bailey has, let us know. We're trying to improve. We're trying to get better. We want to make sure we deliver the best content to everybody. So we appreciate any feedback, even if it's not the nicest thing. Please be honest with us. We truly appreciate it. But like Sam said, you gotta subscribe.
Yeah.
You gotta subscribe.
But hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Sam.
It was an honor
to
be able to talk to you, the audience. So thank you so much.
Yeah, no doubt. Thank you. Subscribe. If you haven't hit that like button, is that what they say on YouTube? I don't have a YouTube channel. If you haven't hit that like button, hit the like button right now. You see it right there. It's at the bottom left corner.